here at our desktop computer. This is where I start most of my days. I pay bills here, I read emails, and yes, I look at Facebook. But most importantly, this is where I study the Bible. And if I look out my front window, everything seems normal. People are jogging, they're riding bikes, they're walking their dogs. And for a while there, I can tell myself that nothing has changed. But I know that that's not true. We are seeing truly the good versus evil being played out right before our eyes. I'm revisiting the study that the women's group did last winter on end times. And the facilitator in the video, he prays in the beginning and at the end of every session. And I was sitting with my head down and my eyes closed, and he said something that made me stop. My eyes popped open. I replayed it and I wrote it down and I put it on a card, and I have that on the desktop computer so that I see it every morning. And this is what it said. Dear Lord, help us to live more in the hope of what we know is coming. And that just struck me because I tend to say, Lord, help us through this. Help the violence stop. Help the virus stop. Help us get back to where we were. But that's not realistic. We know how this story ends. The world is not going to get better. And in fact, the birth pangs tell us that things will get worse incrementally as time goes along. Evil is not going to get less evil. But what do we as Christians do? How do we react? I'd like to read to you from 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 13 through 17. Who's going to harm you if you are eager to do good? But even if you should suffer for what is right, you are blessed. Do not fear their threats. Do not be frightened. But in your hearts, revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to anyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect, keeping a clear conscience, so that those who speak maliciously against your good behavior in Christ may be ashamed of their slander. For it is better, if it is God's will, to suffer for doing good than for doing evil. So what does that mean, actually? It's telling us that we do not want to look like the rest of the world. If you're on social media and you're sharing the just nasty, terrible things that are being said, does that make you look like a Christ follower, or does that make you look like the world we're living in? We need to be aware that we represent Christ to the fallen, and if we look just like them, there's nothing to draw them to Christ. We need to share his love. So this is saying, be prepared to tell why you're different, why you have hope in an eternity, that this world we're living in is just in the blink of an eye going to be gone, and those of us that know Christ have hope that we will be with him. So I just want to challenge you to look different than the world. Be prepared. Know what you're going to say. Know how you're going to act. And think about, does that show Christ's love to those around you? Remember, dear Lord, help us live more in the hope of what we know is coming.